Hey, all you entrepreneurs and business owners out there that are serious, not curious about taking your business to the next level. Today's guest has insight, understanding, business acumen, and how to take your business to the next level. If you've been looking for a way to learn the right moves, you're in the right place at the right time. I want to introduce you to my friend, Michael E. Parker. Michael, glad to
Hello,
have you here,
Myron.
brother.
How you doing?
Fantastic, man. How are you doing?
Listen, I'm doing great. I'm
All the
so
way from
excited.
California,
All the way from California.
the other West Coast.
Yes, absolutely.
Not the
other
West Coast
day.
of Florida.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. So, Michael, you are the CEO's CEO. You teach entrepreneurs, you teach business owners how to take their life and their business to the next level. Like, where did that come from? The desire to do it, the ability to do it. Where did all that? Give us a little origin story.
Well, I can tell you that a big part of me just really wanting to do so much to help entrepreneurs not only be better in their business, but to become better leaders and to believe in what's possible if they have the right wisdom and knowledge and understanding what they could do. A lot of it starts, honestly, Myron, with my journey, kind of how I came up. I came through a lot of challenges as a young man, and watching my mom go through domestic violence and seeing some pretty traumatic things growing up. I had this mindset that I just didn't really think I was going to be able to accomplish certain things. I had some behavioral problems in school, things like that. And I know a lot of people struggle with that due to
I
maybe
think
different
school is a behavioral problem.
within itself, right? Within itself, that's exactly right. And I never forget, Myron. We had left a violent situation and had to drive out to a home for battered women. And I was in this home with my mom, looking around the room, and I just saw the kids like me that didn't, probably think they were going to be able to amount to as much. And it's something about when you're at a breaking point, especially as a young man, and you don't feel you can help your mom or you can't help a situation, you can't change a situation. And sometimes we feel that way. How do I change the situation? What can I actually do to make something better? And it wasn't until I had some godparents that stepped in and showed me a better life, a better way. There was some peace there. There was some experiences there that I needed. And I got the epiphany, Myron, that, the decisions we make really govern our destiny. And the fact that we have the ability to make decisions, the fact that we're a soul and not just a body tied to the brain that fills us with emotions, you can choose to do something that is different than what you feel. And it is this epiphany that opened the mindset to me that all of us have to be the CEO. Like, whether you know it or not, you are the CEO of your life. Because you run the business of you. And so I would say coming through that point in my life where I realized I could have turned left and had one life, but I made a decision to turn right, and it took me down another path. This epiphany is what I want to give away to the world. I want as many people as possible to understand the power of just making the right decision and the fact that they can make the right decision.
I think one of the most valuable things I heard you say, a couple things. First of all, one of the most valuable things I heard you say is your decisions determine your destiny. And I think there are a lot of people who think that your destiny determines your decisions, but it's actually the other way around.
Exactly.
And so you clearly made some decisions and that took your life in a different direction, but you saw, I think it seemed like to me that when you saw that there are options, that made you aware of opportunity.
Right.
And then the hope of that opportunity is what caused you to make that decision. Am I in the neighborhood?
Absolutely. And I like to call it, Myron, the CEO moment.
The CEO moment.
We all have I should say CEO moments. We all have CEO moments in our life where we're confronted with, are we going to believe more in the hope of anticipation of what can happen, or go into the anxiety and despair of what we think could happen? And either way, we can't make either one of those true.
Right.
But we can have a CEO moment to say, I'm making a critical decision to actually move towards something that I believe is possible, an opportunity that I believe is there. And when I, as a young man, had the challenging grades and the behavioral problems in class, a lot of times they didn't know I had come from such a stressful, violent situation at home. When I got to school, I didn't want to be serious and focus on getting a grade. I wanted to release some of the stress and relax, right?
Yeah.
But I didn't know that the decisions that I would make, if I would be governed by my environment that was in, if I let that dictate the environments that I could create by making the right decision going forward, I would have never been able to move toward any opportunity. So it is exactly what you said. It is the realization that an opportunity is in front of you, but it's the courage to make a decision to walk toward that opportunity that makes all the difference in the world.
So where does that courage come from?
Well, I feel, first of all, there has to be an awareness. And I often say we have to, before there can be self-improvement, there has to be self-awareness. And I had to first become aware that the way that I was thinking was a product of my environment. And this is one of the critical things that I love teaching entrepreneurs is the power of environment. People feel that willpower is the thing. We always hear to grind and to go and to fight for your success, and those things are good. But if you don't change the environment around you, I often look at it as the surfer on the ocean for a moment can use willpower to be on this fury that is called the ocean, but eventually the ocean is going to overcome that surfer. The environment is so critical. So when you realize that environment is the trigger and the driver of what influences our behavior, you start realizing that I can develop the courage to make these decisions by first beginning to change my environment and get around an environment that helps to cultivate that type of courage within me. And once I begin to feed that and fuel that, it begins to grow. And once it grows, you have enough power within you to make the right decision. So it starts though with deciding I am going to change my environment to an environment that is surrounding me with where I really want to go and not where I am.
Wow. So good. So I think another thing that you said when you were first introducing how you came across this framework is you said, you are the CEO of the business of you, the business of you. What is, like, I get what you mean, but I'm going to assume that the people who are watching this video right now, I'm going to assume that they don't get what you mean. So when you say you are the CEO of the business of you, like, what business of me are you talking about? I think a lot of people would be the question a lot of people have. Business of me? I'm not a business.
Right.
Am I? Like, talk to me about that.
Absolutely you are. And one of the reasons is when we think about business, Myron, a business is made up of, it's basically a framework in which we begin to make decisions to serve people and serve other people, to provide a product or service. There's tasks, there's financial decisions, there's people, there's communication you have to use. All the things that we use to make a business successful are the exact same things we have to do to run the business of ourselves. In other words, I am an individual that has to make the right decision. I have to make financial decisions. I have a brand. The way that I talk, the way that I present myself, the way that I show up when I communicate to other people is my brand. What does my name mean is a reflection of the character and behavior and integrity that I show when I interact with people. The financial decisions that I make with my money, the way I invest, the way that I actually make decisions that are responsible and being a good steward of the things I've been given. All those things, there's so many people I meet, Myron, they go to work and they turn on this person for their job. You know, they're actually working for someone else and they turn on this person that has to be responsible and report for duty. But then they go home and they're depressed. They have anxiety. Their house is in disarray. They're disorderly. Their money decisions are all over the place. We have a tendency to have a higher respect for someone else's business than we do our own business, which is the business of making sure we individually arrive at our fullest potential and get to the success that we actually can create. So that's why I say all of us truly are a business.
So maybe that's why Jim Rohn said it would be a good idea to work harder on yourself than you do on your job.
Exactly.
Wow.
Powerful statement.
That is a very powerful statement.
Yeah.
So as the CEO of me, let's say I'm a regular person. I'm thinking about starting a business, but I haven't started a business yet. As the CEO of me, like, how do I go from being the CEO of me to starting something and then being the CEO of that?
Well, I think that one of the things that I've learned that is so important is that before you can really create a business in which other people are going to come in and be influenced by your leadership, I have to first have some level of self-leadership. And when I begin to create a certain amount of self-leadership, I'm making a decision of where I want to go with my health. I'm making a decision of the type of man or woman I want to be. I'm making a decision of how the type of relationships I want to manage, the way I want to show up when I represent me and what I stand for. Well, that becomes a seed into whatever garden of a business that you want to create. When you plant that seed in that business, you can begin to influence behavior in other people because of what's in you. So you begin to, when you work on yourself, and I love how you love talking about you have to become the person, right? You got to become the seed. And until you do that, it's hard for you to go create something in others that is not within you. And so this is how I feel that transition is made. When I begin to plant that same seed within a framework of people or within a business structure, it causes them to know what's possible because they're looking at it in you. And so, I like looking at it, the Bible talks about you shall know them by their fruit. And in another place, you talk about the fruit of the Spirit. I love looking at when you talk about a righteous man to be as a tree planted by the rivers of water. If I begin to bear fruit, the fruit of leadership, care, integrity, being very effective with my marketing or the way that I pursue any particular business endeavor, the people in your business eat off of your tree. And when they eat off of that tree, it becomes a part of them.
Wow.
So if you don't have a seed that you can plant to grow something that people can eat off of, you're not going to be able to create in them unless it's in you.
Wow, so good. It's interesting how when you use the fruit and the tree analogy, you can tell everything you need to know about a tree by the fruit, because the fruit tells you about the root.
It does.
Yeah.
Absolutely. And it's an amazing thing that when we look at a tree, until it bears fruit, you don't know what it is.
Wow.
And so the bearing of fruit is so important. And that's why I feel like we have to make a conscious decision to work on ourselves enough that we would be able to work on others. And a lot of times people say, no one's following me. And it's sometimes because we don't know where we're going.
Well.
And you say, well, I wish more people would listen to me. I wish more people would respect my words. I wish more people would, trust me and be loyal to my leadership. But until I get really clear about where I'm going and I get very centered on the intent in which I live and what I'm trying to create, it's very hard for people to follow that. And that's one thing that I'm so excited about. I've been in business for 2 decades now, and a lot of people on my team have been with me for 20 years. It's one of my greatest accomplishments. I've made money and done all these things, but I love the fact that I've been able to create a team that believed enough in me to stay with me all these years and work by my side. But a lot of it has to do with them seeing me demonstrate certain things, and then because of who they were. And so you want to be able to create that with your leadership.
Wow. It reminds me of another Jim Rohn. I'm harping on the Jim Rohn bandwagon today, but it reminds me of something else he said. Don't wish it were easier, wish you were better.
That's good.
Right?
Yes.
Isn't that good?
Yes.
And so, that's what you just said reminded me of. So you've got a framework, and you've built $1 million businesses, and you've helped other people build $1 million businesses, and you've got like the Millionaire Business Blueprint that you've developed that can help business owners who are right now maybe struggling, and they're eking out a meager existence, maybe generating $10,000 or $20,000 a month in revenue, maybe generating $30,000 a month in revenue. You got this framework, and this framework does what exactly?
So I call it the Millionaire Business Blueprint because I've successfully built many companies that have reached $1 million and more. And I've learned that there is a blueprint that you can follow that will make a business strong and more successful. And that Millionaire Business Blueprint, there's 5 components of it. The first component is clarity. And clarity has to do with your ability to get extremely clear on where to focus your energy and your direction so that you are spending time on the things that move the needle in your business, the things that are going to really cause your business to grow. People a lot of times aren't clear on where they're going and why they should be going there in their business. And so they waste a lot of time on things that don't really help the business grow.
100%.
I love the scripture that says, where there is no vision, the people perish. People like to quote it, without a vision, the people perish, which has to do with an amount, but where has to do with a location.
Come on now.
So when you think about where, then this has to do, where are you at in your mind? Where are you located in the marketplace? How have you positioned your business for success? And so when I'm going over this, I normally go over 7 different strategies that I recommend people use to understand different ways of seeing what is the strategic approach you're going to use. So many entrepreneurs, Myron, I noticed, they think that the guy next to them is better than them because they're making more money than them. The problem is that person just knows something they don't know, and they're using a strategy that you're not using. They're not even smarter than you. They're not even better than you. When I go to these large companies and I've done consulting for them, and I see that they have the same problems as the entrepreneur in the corner, the same issues, the same fears, the same insecurities. They're just in this house of politics and bureaucracy called a company, but they're the same person.
Wow.
The difference between them is they're really clear on where they work and what they're supposed to be doing, and that's what entrepreneurs have to do.
So good. It reminds me of a Rick Warren quote in his book. I think it was The Purpose-Driven Church. He said, "Nothing becomes dynamic until it becomes clear." And I think so many people lack clarity in their communication because they lack clarity in their comprehension. You can't say something clearly if you can't think about it clearly.
Right.
Right. And so when I hear you talk about clarity, it also reminds me of there's a young woman who is a business owner on Clubhouse, Chandra. I don't remember her last name, but she used to always tell people, clear trumps clever every single time. People will attempt, they'll write a book, they'll want to come up with a clever title. They'll create a product, they'll want to come up with a clever name.
Yeah.
A clear name that clearly demonstrates a payoff for them is going to produce a much better result for the clients and for them than some clever puzzle riddle type title. So you said, so clarity is one component of the Millionaire Business Blueprint. What's another component?
Another component, the next component I like to focus on is capacity. Okay. And what I mean by capacity is you need to understand based on the clarity and the focus you're trying to have for this particular business, what is the capacity in terms of what this business can actually create? Some people choose a market that doesn't have room in it for growth. Okay. Sometimes you're trying to focus on a business that it's not capable of making a certain amount of money. And you have to know the capacity of this business model. We focus a lot on business models here. And, I often say, Myron, I'll ask when I'm teaching people, I'll say, well, how many people in here speak a different language? And some people say Spanish, this language, that language. And I said, well, if you're in business, you need to learn how to speak Mathlish and Numbernese. Mathlish and Numbernese. And they all bust out laughing. I said, but you laughing. I said, but this is serious because in business, if you're going to talk to an investor, a bank, if you're going to even get clear to your own company about what your business is here to do, you have to speak in numbers. And so you got to know the difference between revenue, cost of sales, gross profit margin, operating expense, net profit, and net profit, profit margin. And so I begin to focus a lot on, based on this model you're choosing, is there enough capacity here to create the types of success that you want? If you haven't looked at your model, and you might be spending a lot of time on something that's not even capable of getting where you want to go. So this is a very critical area, and I love too in this particular area, pointing out things like the difference between gross profit and net profit, and people not realizing gross profit actually shows you how profitable your product or service is, not your business. And we have to know, how profitable is this product that I want to, in my model, this product, how profitable is it? And then net profit considers your operating expense. This tells you how profitable your business can be. So to show up individual the difference between these and how to model your business out, because if you can't see that, then you don't have the capacity to be great. You don't have the capacity to build $1 million business or more, because you have not taken the time to understand the framework in which your business is operating.
So good. So like when I think about that, it reminds me of some stuff that I was talking about in my Boss Moves book. And like you've got, when we're talking about capacity, what I think I hear you saying, you're talking about not just the capacity of the business, but you're talking about the capacity of the business market, then the capacity of the business model, and then the capacity of the business marketing medium. And so when I think about those three things, this is what came to my mind when you were talking. That's got me all jacked up, right? The capacity of the business market is, if the capacity of the market is too small, you might have a Ferrari or a Lamborghini, but you're racing on a dead end street.
Right.
So you have nowhere to go.
Exactly.
Right. You got this great product, you've got this great team, but you're in a market that's almost non-existent. It's so small.
Right.
Right. And then, or you've got a bigger market, like a market of people who would and love to do business with you and have the ability, but you have the wrong business model. And with the wrong business model, you're like a 1974 Volkswagen Beetle in the Indy 500.
Right.
You might not even finish. You're definitely not going to win.
Definitely not going to win.
Right.
Right.
And then when you look at the medium, like, it's interesting. Like if you think about Jeff Foxworthy, Jeff Foxworthy became wealthy enough to become one of the sharks on a season of Shark Tank. And his first product was cassette tapes.
Wow.
That he sold in truck stops with his comedy routine, You Might Be a Redneck F.
Really?
Yes.
Wow. I didn't know that.
Yeah, and became rich enough to become a shark on Shark Tank.
Wow.
Okay. Now, why is that fascinating? Because the business media that you use to promote your business is the fuel.
Right.
And if you have the wrong fuel, it's like putting diesel fuel in a gasoline engine.
Right.
Not only will it not go anywhere, it will literally destroy the engine.
Right.
And so what happens is you've got people with the wrong, I mean, if you have any one of those wrong, it can be devastating.
Right.
If you have all of them wrong, which a lot of businesses do,
Yeah.
you are guaranteed to go out of business.
Catastrophic.
It's
yeah.
catastrophic,
Yeah.
which is why I believe that 80% or more of businesses go out of business within the first 3 years.
Right.
So you, man, this is
Well,
this
yeah,
is so
and,
good,
and
bro.
I love what you just talked about there, Myron. That was so powerful. And the thing about it is, you know, what is so disheartening to me is there's so many entrepreneurs that are learning how to do the wrong things better. And that is the thing. It's like that Ferrari
As
you were
these young
talking
people
about.
say, that's a bar.
Yeah. well, think about it. Like you could be painting this Ferrari that you talked about that you're completely in the wrong race, right? And that's why when you think about clarity and capacity, you want to make sure you're in business in something you're proficient in, but something that's profitable as well,
Come on now.
right? Because it makes money, but also something that's in the right market position because you could be getting better in a dying market.
Well,
right?
yeah, you could have the best newspaper in town.
Exactly.
Or the biggest yellow pages.
Yeah, the greatest VHS tapes, right? Exactly.
Right. Our VHS tapes are great.
Right, exactly.
Yeah, but nobody has a player.
Right. So, and that's what capacity is about, basically, Myron, is teaching someone how to think through that and understand what's even possible so that they're spending their time and energy on the right thing.
Oh, so good.
Yeah.
That's only 2 of them.
That's 2 of them.
That's 2 of 5.
Right.
So what's the next one?
So the next one is commerce. And commerce is really about how to create a systematic approach to having a river of flowing income into your business.
River of income.
River
I like
of income.
river and income. When those 2 are together, sign me up.
Absolutely. Because when you really think about it, that's why we call it cash flow. Right? We should be thinking like a river, and we want uninterrupted flow coming into our business. And so we have to understand a system for generating leads, a system for converting those leads. And then we have to make sure that it's not a one-time wonder in terms of how you get your leads or how you get your sales. What makes it a river is when you make it a systematic approach, a planned, intentional approach that consistently brings leads in, and then a planned, consistent approach that converts those leads. So we talk a lot about that. Any powerful nation, country, city, state has to have commerce. And if your business doesn't have commerce, it's going to go out of existence. No matter how much you love serving people, no matter how much you like your logo, if you don't have money, the lifeblood, your business is going to be destroyed. So I try to talk about the importance, and we deal a lot with offers and things of that sort as well, which I know you're really big on, and going into to offers and how to align that with a systematic approach to creating a river of income coming into your business.
So good, man. So good. Wow. So when I think about commerce, you talk about cash flow. It's so interesting how when you have a conversation with somebody, how you talk about some of the same things and you talk about them in a different way. It's really interesting to me that that when most people think of money, they think of it as a pool to be viewed. Right. So I want to get this big pool of money so I can go back and look at it. Right.
Yeah.
Right. But God designed wealth as a tool to be used, not a pool to be viewed.
Right.
Right. And if you think about the river, like when you said river, the thing I thought about, a river has to have a source, this is where it comes from.
Right.
And then it has to have a destination where it's going.
Right.
Right. And so that cash flow that flows through your business it's about bringing value that already exists but using the business's resources to take it to people who can use those resources in exchange for that compensation.
Right, absolutely. And rivers bring life. That's why we can see from a biblical perspective, a lot of times a river is used as life, eternal
100%.
life, right? Something that's flowing, something that's alive. When I love the scripture and how it'll refer to rivers versus marshy and miry places that are stagnant. They don't flow. It's a body of water, but it doesn't flow. And if you don't have a flow to how money comes in, your business is going to be stagnant. It's not going to have life. And so we have to, we have to see it as a source of life to our business to figure out how to keep cash flow alive within that company.
100%. Even from a geographical standpoint.
Yeah.
Cities are built near rivers.
Absolutely.
Right? And there's a reason for that.
Right.
That's the river, the rivers of life.
Yeah, and that's why when the scripture says it being a tree planted by the rivers of water, it's no need to mention that except for the fact that's where the best trees are going to be as healthy as if they're near a river. So if you want to grow a strong business that is able to grow and blossom and produce all kind of fruit for the, sometimes people make the mistake of trying to help too many people before they've grown the tree.
Well,
they got to let the tree help them. But, by building the tree right, getting it near a river and let that river create enough of a strong crop of trees that you can feed as many people as you want then from the tree, though, that came from the river.
Right. So good. So good. So that's 3.
Yes, sir.
There's still 2 left.
Yes.
I can hardly wait.
Well, this next one is one of my favorites, and that's control. Control has to do with the ability to actually put the systems in place that allow your business to run almost automatically because you've learned how to actually see your business. Business is a system of systems. And so when we understand that business is a system of systems, and we also come to understand that you really shouldn't be trying to run your business. The systems should be running your business. So my background, Myron, my career started when I began to work for Toyota. I happened to be there when Akio Toyota, who's now the chairman, he was being sent to this site that I was at on location. He was coming to a tour, and everyone's saying Akio Toyota. I'm young, in my early 20s. I come from the inner city, came through a lot of struggle. It didn't mean nothing to me. They was like, somebody need to give him a tour of the plant, give him a presentation here. I said, I'll do it. They said, you will? I said, sure. I don't know, kill turtle. It doesn't make a difference to me. So I didn't really know what's going on. So I gave this presentation, Myron, and I'm walking around and, telling him everything. And I'm done. I didn't think nothing of it. But little to my surprise, he called all the top leaders in the room and he said, who's that young man? He said, there's something special about him. He said, I want him to be a part of this special team. So I went on to be picked 1 of 7 from North America to be sent to Japan, to Toyota City, to be trained in lean management. And lean management is the ultimate management framework for moving waste out of any operation and teaching a business how to completely focus on value. And so, Myron, the operations I saw in Japan, you felt like you could eat food off the floor. It was just immaculate. The operations and systems were just amazing. And when I thought about my testimony and what I had come through and all the journey and the struggles and the things that I saw growing up, and here I was in Japan. I'd never been out of the country. I instantly just fell to my knees and I just thank God. I couldn't believe I was there. But it changed my life forever because it taught me some systems that I could use in all of my future business endeavors. It's going to help me be an entrepreneur. It's going to help me be a Fortune 100 business consultant. I learned it there, and I didn't learn it from the books or people who heard from someone who heard from someone who heard from someone. This was first generation lean experts, people like Yoshifumi Tanaka or Kash Nishimoto, Kurt Inoue. A lot of people don't know, people who were connected to the original Toyota family. So I was able to take all this and see how to use it in business to cause a business to operate at the highest level of operational excellence. Now, and efficiency. And so, but what I love about control and about operations even more though, Myron, is that God is a God of operation and excellence and efficiency. When you study the scriptures, I love to see how God, when you look at how he began to put things in place, how detailed he was, the
Oh, for sure.
standards,
For sure.
the sequence, right? Get the Passover on the 10th day, keep it up until the 14th day, eat it in that night. All those details, the details he gave what the high priest was supposed to do or what he did with the tabernacle. I love the level of detail where he literally said, you know, Judah be on the east side, this group on the south, the west and the north. He told those sons of Levi exactly what to do, right? Like Gershom, you take all the coverings and the tent and all that. Kohath, you go in, you bear all the furniture inside the ark. Merari, he said, you go in and you make sure to take all the woodwork and the boards. The way that this detailed, meticulous operation was set up, he said, when these 2 silver trumpets blow, that's actually a control system using visuals and audio. He said, you break from the east first, then the south, then the west, then the north. And there was an order when that operation moved. And I love reading in the Exodus 40, we said he got everything in place. He said a cloud just came and filled the tabernacle because they had done everything in an order. And even Paul said, let everything be done decently and in order. So when you begin to understand that order and operation and doing things in a systematic way, you know, people say God can do anything, but he don't. He does things in an order. The sun works a certain way. The moon works a certain way. There's 4 seasons. And so in business, what I try to teach people, Myron, is that there is a optimal way to do anything. And when you do it that optimal way, you're going to save more money. You're going to grow revenue faster. You're going to respond to customer demand better. And your business is going to be more strong and stable to grow a lot quicker and faster when you put these things in place.
So that's so amazing because when you talk about control, like the average person doesn't understand what you mean, might think about controlling other people, but you're not talking about controlling other people.
Right.
You're talking about controlling aspects of your business so your business growth is not based on guesswork. Right. You're measuring, you're monitoring, you're adjusting so you can control the outcome.
Exactly. It's kind of like what we see in statistics where you talk about an upper control limit and a lower control limit, and they monitor to see it over a period of time. If you're measuring some sort of data point, if it gets outside of the upper or lower control limit, you would say it's out of control. You don't mean out of control like acting a fool.
like the plane's flying itself, right? Or it's upside down.
We're just saying that it's
outside
of the controls. And I love.
And the controls are parameters that you set ahead of time.
Exactly. And that's what makes it control, is the fact that you have a parameter. And I've told this to entrepreneurs a lot, and a lot of times it's an epiphany for them that they'll come to me and they'll say, I have a problem with this and a problem with that. And I'll ask them, I'll say, well, what standard have you put in place? And they'll say, well, what do you mean? I say, well, what's the standard? They say, well, I don't have a standard. I say, well, you don't have a problem. Because a problem is a deviation from a standard.
Come on now.
You have to qualify to have a problem. And so what a lot of entrepreneurs realize,
so good,
if
bro.
you don't have a standard, you just have chaos. And they'll say, but I'm organized. It's okay. It's organized
It's chaos. Exactly.
Right? So then they start to see, you can't even begin to have problems until you get your business under control. And when your business is under control, because you have standards and systems in place, you can see when something's out of control. It's deviated from a known standard. We're supposed to do this in 5 minutes. It took 7. That's a problem. We're supposed to have this many leads. We only got this many. That's a problem. When you have no controls of who's supposed to do what, how they're supposed to do it, when they're supposed to do it, then you can't even say you have problems.
Ladies and gentlemen, in this corner, Michael E. Parker. Right? You came out swinging, bro.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah, that was great. Wow.
So important.
You said, what's the standard? They said, we don't have one. Then you don't have a problem.
Don't even have a problem.
I mean, like that could be the whole video right there.
Right. And then to go a step further, once I get an entrepreneur to see the importance of control and being able to have a problem, like it is one of the highest honors to have a problem, because a problem leads me to the thing I can do next to make my business better. So once you get to the point where you understand,
that's a whole seminar in itself, bro.
It is. And this is why I say this: not having a problem
is a problem.
Right?
I heard you before you drove up.
Yeah.
I heard you before you drove up.
Yeah, not having a problem is a problem, because, and then the third layer on that is, when you get to the point where you don't have a problem, create one. And what I mean is, I said I'm going to do this, and we're going to do 10 of these a week. Let's do 12. I just created a problem, right? I'm deviating from the standard on purpose to be better, to grow, to go higher, right? So this
is there a point where you ever deviate from the standard to the lower end of the standard, or do you always deviate to the higher standard, to the higher end of the standard when you're creating a problem?
Well, I would say sometimes lower is improvement, depending on what it is. Something you're trying to get to do in less time, or less mistakes, or
less waste.
Less waste. Sometimes going up is the improvement.
Okay, gotcha.
So I would say it's always improvement, but not always up or down.
Gotcha. Really good.
Yeah.
Man, I didn't think you were going to know the answer. I thought I was going to stump you. No, I didn't. I didn't really. I just was, I wonder what about this. So,
yeah.
Okay, so there's one more component of this Millionaire Business Blueprint. What might that be?
So the last component is culture. And when I say culture, sometimes people think you're thinking about ethnicities and nationalities or things like that. When I'm saying culture is, I'm talking about an environment in which the people in your organization can grow and can thrive. And there's an environment that we have to create. If you want to get people to be loyal to your vision, you want to have the best people who show up to work every day, excited about what they do, and feeling that they're meaningful to the business, as well as being able to do meaningful things. There's a culture you have to intentionally start to create. And there has to be a specificity and a clarity about what people are to do and why it matters to the business. And I love going back to biblical principles on this again, just to, I love how clear and the time that was taken to even get clarity about leadership in the Bible. The Bible talks about, I think in Ephesians, he said he ascended on high and he gave gifts unto men. Some apostles, prophets, evangelists, pastors, and teachers. He went on to say, for the perfecting of the saints, the work of the ministry, and the edifying of the body of Christ, that you won't be henceforth tossed to and fro by every wind of doctrine, but he went on to say that you can grow up. When you have leadership and when you have clarity of roles, it creates an environment of growth where people can begin to grow and develop. And in each of those 5 offices, I believe there's a distinct role. There's things that, he talks about an apostle being a planter, someone who reveals mysteries, sets doctrine. He talks about a prophet. A prophet can encourage, exhort, can expound. He talks about a teacher. A teacher can break down the word of God so people can understand it. He talks about a pastor, has a shepherd's heart that can watch over the people. He talks about an evangelist. He has a heart to get people saved. Those are very distinct roles. Now, when he later on in Corinthians, he talked about a sequence of how those roles are to use. He said first apostles, secondarily prophets, and thirdly teachers. Now, I believe he's talking about the sequence in which a church can be built to grow. And you notice when Jesus came, he first called 12 apostles. After that, these other offices begin to show up in the book of Acts and churches begin to grow. And so the way that the church was built back there, even biblically, you can see it wasn't all up to one individual, one bishop, one pastor. It was a group of elders. It was about a brotherhood. Paul said, love the brotherhood. You don't hear people talk about that as much. But see, I believe there's a power in team. There's a power in leadership. There's a power in understanding your role. And that's why so much in the Bible, it talks about measures and people have gifts, but not everyone has the same office. He didn't say having gifts greater or lesser. He said having gifts different. And different means I can still be great and you can too. It's just I have a different way of providing a value to whatever we're doing. So similarly in business, if you can't describe clearly what your leadership is supposed to be doing, what your team is supposed to be doing, and if you've not intentionally thought about how you're going to not just be a logo and a slogan, but a real culture that can cultivate people to grow. I love, there's 3 ways that culture is created that I teach, Myron. Culture is created by what you allow, by what you consistently do, and what you celebrate. So I like to say condone, consistent, and celebrate. Because you can say, this is what our business stands for. But if you keep condoning behavior that's inconsistent with what you say the business is, the behavior is your real culture. If you celebrate, I was doing consulting one time, Myron, at this particular business, and I'll just call his name Joe for sake of example. And he stayed there till 2 a.m, paper all over the floor, paper all over his desk. Another lady named Jan, she got out at 6 o'clock every day, left her desk pristine and organized, and got all her work done. But when they came in the next day, the boss would always come in and say, look at what Joe did. He was here till 2 a.m. That's a commitment. He worked so hard. So that celebration created a culture that is more important to stay at work, be disorganized, and have paper everywhere, and work disorderly. That's what gets rewarded. You might say productivity is what you want, but Jan is the one doing the work, right?
Right.
Jan's the one that's productive. Jan's doing the work the right way. But the way you're celebrating is creating a culture that you don't even see. And every seed that we plant as leaders of our business, it grows up eventually. And it'll either grow up to be a silent benefit to our business, a secret weapon that causes your business to keep going when others fail, keep thriving when others begin to shrink, or it'll be a silent destroyer that begins to implode your business from the inside out. And that's why culture is so important in business.
Yeah, when it comes to celebrating, there's a saying that babies cry for it, grown men die for it. What is it? Praise. And the scripture says, as a fining pot for silver, as a furnace for gold, so is a man into his praise. And so what you celebrate definitely is what gets replicated, is what replicates.
Yes, it gets replicated. And people have a tendency to follow what is being recognized, follow what is being lifted up.
What is they want to be recognized, they want to be lifted up.
Exactly. And so if we can use that in a positive sense, where we begin to intentionally recognize healthy leadership, recognize those who have the right attitude, recognize people who treat people right, celebrate the things that no one sees, but because you're a leader who has the foresight, you can begin to bring that invisible work out in a way where people can see it and appreciate it. Good CEOs and leaders, they're able to make the invisible in the business become visible so that people will be willing to do the invisible things that no one sees.
So good.
But until you can make those invisible things more visible, no one will want to do those things that don't get all the attention.
All the hoopla.
Right? All the hoopla. Very important.
Wow. So good. So I know that you've got different ways for people to reach out to you, to contact you, to work with you, to learn from you. What are some of those ways? I know you got the Millionaire Business Blueprint, or is that what it's called?
Business Bundle?
Millionaire Business Bundle. I know you've got that. I know you've got a challenge. Like, how do people reach Michael E. Parker if they want to apply these principles that we've talked about and more, obviously? Like, I can, my brother, Jeff, always says you can't draw water from an empty well. Right. I can tell you are a well that has a whole lot more water in it. So for people who come and they've got a lot of business thirst, how can they get more water from your well?
Thank you so much, Myron. I first, before answering that, I just want to publicly thank you for who you are. Not just what you've provided and what I've gleaned from you and what I've seen in you. I know you couldn't have done the things that you've done and the things that you're doing had you not bought that, in your life. Through many things you've come through, the wisdom that I hear come from you, it has to be bought through life experiences and real journeys you've been on in your life with the Lord, with your family, and just as a person. And so I want to thank you because, I know I'm not saying anything new to those who watch the episodes that you put out, but you truly have been a blessing to me. And I want to thank you for what you do. I've been through a lot as an entrepreneur, Myron. I've made millions of dollars. I've lost millions of dollars. I've been through the real estate collapse. I've been through many issues in business. And I've made a lot of mistakes. And all of those mistakes made me better and stronger. And what I've done now is I've created the Grow My Business Challenge, where in just 5 days, I can distill down all of these 2 decades of experience and wisdom into going over that Millionaire Business Blueprint in detail and a lot more. And so, I would love to have, anyone interested in really building a strong, $1 million business or more to get those frameworks that we've discussed. The Grow My Business Challenge, there's nothing like it. And it's been so rewarding. I just had an individual who came in and, they've only been, in my program for 6 months or so, and they're already going to be selling their business for millions of dollars. I had another gentleman, hadn't been with us that long, and right away, and we're just getting this going using the framework. I've been, into this now, and just excited that I have a framework that allows me to give this information to people. And so, he got him a $500,000 contract and headed toward another $1 million contract. And another lady, when she mentioned that she made more in a month than she ever had, being in business. These are the type of results that are coming about. But one of the things I do want to say, because you asked me point blank, what do I have and what's available? And I have to say this because anyone that's interested in what we're talking about here today, I have to highly advise. One of the greatest offers I've ever put together is the Millionaire Business Bundle. Because what I found is with my challenge and any challenge, one of the challenges of having a challenge is the schedule. Can I be there? When can I be there all the days, all that? What I've done in the Millionaire Business Bundle, Myron, is I literally give them the entire challenge. They can keep it lifetime. They get a ticket to come to a challenge and actually spend time with me and my executive team. They can redeem that anytime throughout the year. They're going to get extra perks from other programs I have to help them grow their business, as well as access to my software platform, over $1 million of resources and technology. They get all of that at millionairebusinessbundle.com. And so those are some of the main things. And of course, love for people to come and check me out on YouTube. I'm just getting going. I had a YouTube channel for Wheels, but I didn't really take it that serious until I met you. And you said, look, you need to take this thing seriously. And you told your story. And I said, you did what? And how long? And how, what? Jump from what to what?
Yeah.
And so I said, I need to get more serious. So now I'm trying to, I'm giving a lot of value on the YouTube channel. So again, love to have people there.
Man. Good stuff. Well, Michael, this interview has been phenomenal. Guys, we're talking about a guy who has built $1 million businesses, helped other people build $1 million business, and he's just poured out a little Dixie cup full during this interview, and I think there's oceans more where that came from. So take advantage of whatever offer he has. I appreciate y'all watching the video. Michael, thank you for being here.
Thank you, Myron.
Wow.
God bless you.